Welcome to another episode of the Grant Akin Show. Last week we looked at 3 important criteria to make sure that you understood or had figured out before you would move forward with the sale of your house. And today I want to go ahead and talk about how you might want to go about selling your home. Alright, last week the first thing that we talked about was you had to understand your motivation, because that's going to set up and dictate what kinds of decisions you make along the way. And your motivation is already going to play a factor in how you decide to sell your home. At this point, there's 3 primary options for how you can sell your home. You could sell to an instant buyer, also known as an iBuyer, such as Zillow Offers or Open Door. You could try to do for sale by owner, in which case you don't use a traditional agent. Or the third option that I just mentioned is you can try to sell your home with a traditional agent. And the motivation that you have for wanting to sell your home is going to dictate which one of these options you want to choose. What we found is typically when sellers go about selling their home, they're looking for 3 things. Lots of 3s, it seems like. They want the most amount of money, with the quickest sale possible, with the least amount of hassle. And iBuyer, FSBO, and traditional agent are all going to have their strengths or weaknesses in these 3 areas. And so I want to make sure that I give you the best information possible so you can make the decision that makes the most sense for you if you're trying to sell your home. So we'll start with the instant buyer, the iBuyer. Like I mentioned, Zillow Offers or Open Door are 2 of the more common ones, and this is a more recent trend. This is where you will sell your home to a company, and you're not necessarily selling to another private buyer, and then this company holds your home and then they sell it on their own for whatever price they deem fit. But if you're looking for a quick and hassle-less process, this is probably your best bet. The average days on market is 0. You can pretty much contact these people and sell your home and come to an agreement in a day. And a lot of them can close within 14 days. So if you're looking for quick and hassle-less, this might be the best bet for you. However, it comes at what I would consider a fairly steep cost in price. Collateral Analytics, now part of the Black Knight Research Group, they found that with these iBuyers, you can leave as much as 15% of the value of your home on the table. And depending on the price, that adds up. That could be $30,000 or $40,000 depending on what the sales price of your home is. So you need to decide, if I'm just in a hurry and need to make a buck, this might be the best option for you. But they don't always buy all homes either. So I don't think this is the best option for most people, but I just want you to be aware that it is an option. I think the decision to sell one's home typically boils down to either doing a for sale by owner or working with a traditional agent for most people, and I think that's wise. The prevailing wisdom, I believe, is that you will make more money if you do a for sale by owner because you won't be having to pay an agent's commission, and I would caution you against such a simplistic approach, because with the sale of your home, you are signing and binding yourself to a legal agreement, and so attorneys will then need to be involved in some way, shape, or form, and as we know, they don't work for free. Some will charge an hourly rate, some will charge a flat fee, but that varies from attorney to attorney, and so you still need to have someone looking out for your legal interests. And even though you may think that you'll make more money, those other 2 factors, time and hassle, those 2 skyrocket if you're going to look at doing for sale by owner. And if you're comfortable with that, that's fine. But before you would make that choice, you need to figure out, how am I going to determine the sales price of my home? It's more than just going on Zillow. You need to be able to run comps, figure out how to actually analyze the market, look at what homes are selling for in the area. And if you can't do that, you're already off to a bad start. You're going to need to find and draft these legal documents. And the for sale by owner experience, really the whole home sale transaction can be wrought with legal landmines. And if you're doing it on your own, you can really get yourself in a lot of trouble. Best case, maybe you don't disclose something and it ends up costing you a bunch of money because you have to fix it. But worst case, maybe you don't disclose something and it turns into a big legal battle. There's a lot that goes into selling a home. If you're going to have open houses, if you're going to advertise the property, if you're going to stage the property, if you're going to look at what kind of financing a potential buyer might be bringing to you, whether or not you actually want to work with a buyer who has an agent. There's a lot that you as a homeowner would have to decide and feel what you're comfortable with as far as doing it for sale by owner, because there's still costs involved, and all that time and hassle that you would be putting into selling your home. If you just work with a traditional agent, you'll see why they earn the commission that they earn. And so like I said, I want to caution you against just the simple approach, oh, if I do for sale by owner, I'll make more money. Oh, the market's hot, it'll sell itself. In some cases, that's true. But if you don't count these costs, if you don't really think through all that goes into this transaction, like I said, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble and you might leave money on the table anyways. So obviously my recommendation would be to work with a traditional agent. However, I've got the blessing of having a friend who down in Illinois is actually going through a for sale by owner transaction. And so I wanted to actually share with you a little bit of her experience so that you can kind of get a feel for it and see if that would be something that's right for you. All right, we're here with a good friend of mine, Lynn, who is not only a friend but also a former coworker, and I thought she had a valuable experience that I wanted to make sure I could share with you guys at home about her for sale by owner experience. So, Lynn, would you mind telling everybody kind of what's been going on with you and the situation that you're in?
Yeah, for sure. So my husband and I have been looking for a home for a little while now. We started the process in late July. And started looking for houses. We actually found one at the end of July that we really liked. It was a for sale by owner. We found it on Zillow and saw that there was an open house on a Saturday, so we decided to drive on up there and take a look. We went, we looked, we really liked the place. We liked the owner, but we weren't 100% sure we wanted to commit yet.
Okay.
So we went out with a realtor the next day to go look at some other houses in the same price range in another area we were looking at. But those houses were in a much worse condition than the first one. So the realtor told us that for sale by owners could be tricky and tried to manipulate us out of it. But we still decided to try and go back. The next weekend there was another open house.
Okay.
We went back up there at the very tail end of the open house and met with the owner a second time. And she was super excited to see us again. She was like, I was hoping you guys would come back. And I really liked you. And by that point, we had our pre-approval letter.
Awesome.
So we were ready to go. And we told her, hey, we want to try it. We would like to buy this house. Let's negotiate. We negotiated a price right then and there.
Nice.
Agreed on one and then told each other, okay, we'll go talk to lawyers and we'll get moving on this. She has a lawyer. We have a lawyer. There's no realtor involved whatsoever. And then there's the only other group involved are the people financing us.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, would you mind telling everybody what so far about the experience you have enjoyed or you found to be what you would think would be better than a traditional buying experience?
So for us, it's really nice to be able to talk directly to the seller. That's been a really nice thing. We've been able to cultivate a relationship with her about the house that she's selling because she really loves the house. It's just she's having to move for health reasons and to be closer to family. So she knows a lot about the house and she's lived there for 11 years. And so it's been great for us to be able to talk to her about what works, what doesn't, what's finicky, what's not in this whole transition period. So that's been a really nice experience for us. And I think it's been nice for her. I don't speak for her, but I know that she seems like she likes being able to talk to people about to buy her house.
Okay.
So that's been good.
Nice. Well, on the flip side of that coin, have there been any significant pain points or difficulties or things that you're like, this has not been the greatest experience?
Yes, there definitely have. So you know some of this already. We've had a rough experience just with the fact that there really isn't someone involved to keep us up to speed on what's going on until after something's happened. So because there are lawyers doing all of the negotiating behind the scenes, we kind of don't get to know where we're at in the process.
Okay.
And that becomes an issue when, for us in particular, our lawyer disappeared for a couple weeks and we didn't know what was going on. And so the seller's lawyer started emailing us and the seller started emailing us and we were like, I don't know where he is. I don't know what's happening. There was just a bit of confusion there. And then we found out later that he was in the hospital for a while.
Oh, okay.
And so that kind of created a ton of anxiety and pressure for everyone involved when something like that happens.
What about, with your experience with the seller, that connection that you made with them, would you give any advice to someone who is looking to sell for sale by owner?
So my big thing that I've learned through all of this for seller and buyer is patience, because this process takes a lot longer than you think it's going to take. And I know our seller started getting really frustrated and concerned when they weren't hearing from us for a little while because we were still waiting for an appraiser's set of paperwork. And so there are some things that are out of the buyer's control when it comes to financing and getting everything together. It's not like we can say, hey, we want to buy the house, let's go. There's all sorts of paperwork that still has to be filled out depending on your loan, depending on what you're doing. And there's just that patience involved of sometimes it's out of our hands to say when we can close or when we can bring your money to the table and buy it.
I super appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your experience, sharing your story with us. I'm sorry for the pain points you've had so far, but it sounds like you guys are still moving towards...
We're still moving towards it. We're still headed to buy the house. There's only one piece of paperwork left before we've got a closing date. So everybody's still in.
There we go. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. A little rundown on a for sale by owner experience. I hope you guys have found this valuable. I know that I have. Other than that, we'll talk to you later.
So hopefully you enjoyed hearing from my friend Lynn about her for sale by owner experience. Now, I don't want you to think that there's only one answer to every problem, because the reality is that for some of you, a for sale by owner might make the most sense. I just don't want you to be naive. I want you to have as much information as possible so you can make the best decision for you. I personally think that working with a traditional agent is going to be most people's best option. We're going to work hard to make sure you get the most amount of money. We're going to handle most of the hassle so that you don't have to. And we're highly motivated to make sure that your home sells as quickly as possible. And so the question then becomes, well, how do I pick one? You know, there's 625 real estate agents in the Lakes Area Realtors Association here in Walworth County alone. So how do I pick between 625? Who's best for me? And that's what I want to cover next time when we have our Sellers series here on the Grant Akin Show. So hopefully you found this information valuable. That's always my goal. I would encourage you guys to make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you get all the future content that we're coming out with here on the Grant Akin Show. If you did find this valuable, I'd love to hear from you down below in the comments. Which ways have you sold your home? Would you consider selling to an iBuyer? Have you even heard of an iBuyer before? And then always share and like. Those things help the channel out a ton, and I would appreciate that. Other than that, I love you guys a lot. I always have, I always will, and we'll catch up with you next week. Peace.